Go ahead. Do you guys want to see that whole like mythical I counted pixels thing? Well, I'm actually having to do it again, but this time with the IndyCar. It's not like it's a secret per se. It would have been 20 years ago, but it's because of the lack of knowledge. And so what I'm doing here is there's a picture supplied by a guy named Bill who runs these Cosworth XDs, and he has a couple pictures of his motor while he was rebuilding it. I can email him, but I don't want to overwhelm him. So what I'm doing is doing real basic versions what I did before. So this whole section right here is the engine mount to the body. This head of the engine is actually a car. But what you do is with known numbers, which I have this piece right here, so I simply measure known distances. So I know the center of this bolt hole, and I know the center of this bolt hole, and I also know the center of this bolt hole. Get these measurements that you know in real life that you can use in multiple places to compare to each other. So what I then do is I draw a line from a point here. What I'm doing is just doing a shift. GIMP or Photoshop do the same thing. And at the bottom, I'm looking at the number of pixels from visibly the same spot. These pictures are actually all distorted, so you're not going to get perfect answers. We'll see it says 77 pixels between these two right there. We'll go ahead and do the same thing from this one to this one. And we get, what, 83 pixels. I do know that the distances on my motor, all this chicken scratch right here, the first number should come up to 35 millimeters, the second one 38. Long story short, I divide all that out and I come up with 0.449 inches per pixel and 0.447 inches per pixel. So I'm off by 2 thousandths between the two. That's essentially rounding error at that point. That's perfect for what I need. So now what I'm kind of trying to do, and this is all out of just estimation here, is measure the distance from here to here. Now I know the length of the bolt. I actually have the bolt, but I want to see this silver part. How long should that be? And then furthermore, how long should all this? Now I've measured this way. If we start measuring vertically or at angles, that's a totally different visual aspect, and it could be wrong. So all I'm doing is measuring left to right. If we measure again, right here, measure to this spot here, we get 162 pixels. We're using this just as kind of a rough reference. We'll do 162 times 0.448. We'll just give it the difference. And that comes up with 72.5 millimeters, which actually gets really close to where I'm going with this. I estimate that the whole length is 78 millimeters, leaving the silver part to be the remainder. You can see I'm actually using pretty good numbers here to figure all this out. Still estimations, but since I can't buy this thing online, and I don't have a friend or anybody that has these, this is the sort of stuff you have to resort to. Now I can keep fine-tuning and doing other ways to triangulate it, but that's honestly how you reverse engineer something off the cuff using pictures. I finally show you guys how I did my CAD, good or bad. And so you start by looking at the different bolt holes and their positions on the top of the motor. And then you also look at the two bolt holes that are on the chassis, and they're on two different sides. So you have to think about one side and then the other. It's very intense to think like that. So I started with just the block from the block of the motor, raised it up the total height, and worked it over a little bit. Then I made it from the side, I made the little TP shape, and everything kind of relates to those two bolts and the strength and position from there. And so then I cut those out, and there you go. You get the general basic shape. And of course, I'm not so sure is that the right shape, so I keep looking at the original pictures. And now it's time to start cutting the lightning pocket. I don't know exactly why they did some of the way they did, but I'm copying it as much as possible because there's probably a reason. Add those lightning pockets, give them a little bit of a nice base, and then I start making things smoother. Everything on this, the goal is to make it as smooth as possible. So then I now just cut out all of the Allen head bolt heads and gave them just a little bit of tolerance so they're not hitting the side of that metal there. And then that one little guy on the top, I made sure I took care of him too. So once I checked it all over, I then went and made every sharp edge curved, both on the sides of that right there near the bolt head. Once all the bolt heads were done, I went and filled all of the corners. And so sharp edges are really bad. They're a point for causing cracks. And so everything I did, I added a little bit of a radius to it. So that way I had the right tool for this. So I designed this with the machine I have in the shop in mind. It's kind of a bonus to working harder with design that has a purpose. So you can see a nice gentle radiuses and all those things. Cracks aren't going to form there. Of course, I saved it in a good name, and away we went. There are a lot of Easter eggs inside of this car. at what I just found hidden in there. This is one of the best things that I could put in there because putting this inside my body has been amazing. I am a massive fan of AG1. And my favorite thing is, you guys know I've been using it for quite a while, but when you hear like a new health fad and you look, and sure enough, in the massive list of things, ashwagandha, I'd be interested in taking some supplement. Already in there. It takes away your need for a multivitamin. It's all right there. And it's coming from very healthy sources. One of my favorites is probiotic, which there's a lot of studies showing that a healthy gut equals a healthy mind. And my mind is something I don't want to waste. So I do as much as I can to be proactive with my health. In the mornings, Erica makes this for me. You know you're being healthy. And that is a lot to me at this point in my life. 8 to 12 ounces of water, however concentrated you want to get. I just got all of my important things that I want to make sure, vitamins, minerals, and other healthy, beneficial things that keep me going. If you are ready to get your AG1, AG1 will give you guys 5 free packs and a 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2. Wonderful combo together. All of this with your first purchase. If you go to athleticgreens.com/RobDahm. This is a very exciting moment, dusting off the CNC machine, make sure all the tools are up to tolerance, because we are about to cut both of the engine mounts on this piece, so they'll be sitting nice and pretty in these spots. I think I have the positions backwards. We're actually cutting the left-hand one first. Doesn't make a difference, but we're going to be cutting it, and you can see kind of the squiggles. That's where I'm leaving the material. I'm not trying to cut everything else. I'm just trying to cut around this piece and hopefully leave the material for the other piece. So we'll cut one, leave it all the way in, and then cut the other one, leave it all the way in, and then flip it over, cut both of them out, and then flip them to the sides. There's a lot of operations on such a small piece. This is very exciting for me because I'm using a lot of proper ways to do this. So first couple steps should rough it out, so we should see this piece pretty quick. We're gonna be drilling all the holes, cutting out the rough piece, smoothing it out with a ball end. So there's a couple of these have balls on them. It takes balls to get work like this done. This is 4 operations in one. Yeah, so cut the bigger one. I had to pause it at this step because, like Joel just said, this is like the Minecraft version of it. Very promising. Let's see what the smoothing step did. Ooh. That certainly is a major step in the right direction. We're gonna have to cut that pocket out with a different tool, but its heart was in the right spot. But that little notch right there, I'm not sure why I hit that. I can clean this up way more. We're gonna have to get smaller tools. Everything's, from this point on, is just smaller. But you can see it. That is the engine mount. What I thought was the final pass, but it's not. There's small details. Some of you guys that are in this world know. And other of them are just like weird paths that I chose because I don't really cut too many things on an angle like this. See, this weird shit going on over here. But I'm gonna go ahead and clean up all the edge, chamfer everything. All in all, it's actually almost there. Now the sad part is I can't take it out until I cut the other one because that piece of metal needs the rigidity of both. This should Yes. So I didn't drill all the way through the metal, but it does that, and you can see that my measurements for the head of the bolts are also nice and solid right there. It's time to do the second piece. It should be pretty straightforward. I have half of the code already done. I ran out of space on the machine actually, so I've got as much code as the machine can do. It's like 4 or 5 operations, and hopefully we just set it, forget it. So let's see what happens. That was my secret. And bigger holes. Look at how thin that piece of metal is between the two. I just let it go. On purpose I did that, but I didn't realize that they would actually get close to touching. There is number 2, and look at how close I was on accident with my math. Oh. That was completely unintentional. That looks shorter because it is. You can see the difference between the two, not just in CAD, but right here. This one is roughed. That one's more closer to being finished. This is an M8 Allen-headed bolt, and that's exactly even rough cut. It's right in there, right? And so the drill bit isn't that big because I end up boring it out after the fact. But as you saw earlier, that's what these are, right? Here's my problem. Let's check this out. This is an M8 by 125. This is like one of the most standard bolts in the world. That makes sense. Here's something that raises my attention. That's the other holes on here. Whoa. Yeah, now they're threaded, M8, 125 on the bottom. So these are actually the same bolts. But anybody that's an engineer, even armchair engineer like me, knows that that's alarming. So what I think they machined on here is they machined custom bolts, or basically shoulder bolts, where this is 8 millimeters, give or take, 7.8 to 8, but that's 9 millimeters almost exactly. So we got 0.350, and you can see that's 9 millimeters. So it looks like they have a shoulder bolt like this. Should I machine the holes on that to 9 or 8 millimeters? For now, we're going to stick with 8 millimeters because we can always chuck it back in and upsize them to 9. Nice little and then bore it out to 9. So I feel pretty confident about staying with this size. But the sad part is it'll sit in the engine mount like that, nice and tight. But then the actual chassis has a little bit of room. Thankfully, it's also got these locating pins right there, 5 millimeter in diameter. So when I flip it upside down, I'll have to add those two in there. So I did the typical thing I tell the guys. I'm like, hey, we're done for the night. But deep down, we weren't done. And I kept working on the thing they said I wouldn't be working on. Here we are. So I just realized what I was doing, milled the shit out of the whole rest of the chunk between these, and then cut the last little thin lip right there on the bandsaw. Where you see the whole mount kind of stop, the circle stop, that's the height of the actual thing. So I can flip it and use that as a base to then cut the backside completely off, and now we have our mounts. That's why I want to show you guys what they look like right now. Here comes my favorite tool for screwing everything up, all right? How quick this one is. Oh, I can already see holes. I paused it because I realized you can tell I didn't go low enough. I was doing 2 sets of math and being too safe. So we're gonna do it again, but you can already see that the holes, look at that, the drill holes are coming out. There you go. Yes, it broke them all off evenly. And you can see the little remnants, they're just breaking off my fingers. So this thing is still very level, even though the little arms fell off, which was terrifying. It stayed extremely level in here. And so I mean, within 1,000, maybe 2,000ths of angle, possibly. It's crazy. They got much lighter. And that's the correct height. And so much I could have done better, but at least this part's flat. I've got a couple of things to do to the bottom side. I'll have to put it back in, make sure it's square in the vise, and then drill the 2 little locating holes. Here comes number 2, and that looks pretty damn good. This one's the better of 2 because on the second one I forgot to run the deburring program. I made it and didn't do it, where this one's a little bit more polished. It is whatever in the morning, and I couldn't help it. Yeah, see those side holes right there? Those are milled, drilled, reamed, perfectly in place within like 1,000th of an inch, and they are the same spot on both sides, which actually is a big deal, meaning that when I was drilling it, I didn't have it awkwardly angled inside of the machine because it's a totally different setup. I have 2 full engine mounts. I even have the little locating spots, those 2 spots off-centered. They are very solid. I think it's time to put them on. Okay, so I can't really go back from this once I start it, but there's one, and it looks like crap. It looks like, well, I can pull this off. That's not a big deal. I'm definitely gonna have to pull off my engine mount thing, and that's kind of committing to the fact that these are gonna be replacing it. So I just took my little tripod thing off, and it is the moment I hope is a positive one. This is literally the first time I'm trying this, and of course it's exactly snug, so I have a little bit of a problem. I can't get that on. That means we just have to loosen the bottom ones, have the jack under there. I'll have to put these on and then jack the engine back up. No, not a big problem or scary at all. Not at all. And same thing on both sides. I can't really, the motor is really heavily located in there, and my parts aren't making it any easier. In the future, that would be on, and you would just, I've done a lot of really dumb things in my life, but having a $40,000 motor sitting just on basically a Harbor Freight jack and stand that's probably been recalled. I've pulled it away from the block, and it's just hanging on the very edge of those. We're going to see. That might be just enough. We're going to see if it'll let me get those. Ooh. Oh. Okay. You can see it's... Oh. No way. Okay, are the holes lining up? They look like they are. Let's see if the other side will work. This one is, of course, going to require me to get even sketchier because it is longer. The scary part is that if one of those 2 bolts on the bottom like completely let go, the motor is probably top heavy and will rotate off. Ooh. The only other thing I'm a little worried about is that I don't know if my holes are too tight for these. I reamed them, but well, let's try pushing it back in. The good news is that they all line up. Not gonna lie, this is actually really terrifying. Those are going in. I'm gonna work on this without having a camera in one hand, but look at that. That is super exciting. There it goes. Gonna run out of the jack stand. Oh, there we go. Yeah, it's 2 in the morning. You know what's worse than one guy with a bad idea? So we're just, you know, obvious stuff that...
But if I keep going, it'll be fine?
Yeah, totally. Okay, your side's going. My side needs like a love tap.
I was just about to grab a rubber.
It's probably because somebody named myself did not clean off the rust, because yeah, this side's happily.
That's just precision machine.
This motor is a chassis component, so it's not really...
There's like 1 thread so far. There you go. Yeah, that's gonna be the angle.
Okay.
It's the up and down, I think that.
Oh,
see, yeah.
Oh, it feels like my first time. Oh God,
You had your first time already?
when I read a book. Okay.
Yeah, so that's gonna need to go up.
Yeah, because those are the shoulder bolts right there.
No, cranking it got this one on, but that one still over there. But it does have pressure on it. This one moves a little bit.
Oh yeah.
That one didn't
right,
move.
because this side of the strap can move easier.
I see.
Okay, so I see it moving.
Yeah, she's moving. Oh yeah, keep it going.
Oh, there. Oh, you guys, I know you caught that sound.
Aye.
That's this. Oh.
That's not good.
I was waiting until you say something. That isn't good. Or
I mean,
is
it hasn't fell.
It actually is good, I think.
So no, yeah, you could put. Yeah, it made that one go back down a bit. Yeah, Jesus.
Look at the plates are in the right spot.
Yeah, that's. They're kind of like they're made to be that way.
Holy shit, we did it.
Well, how was putting in the hole?
That's not going anywhere. This is a beautiful moment, and it's going to get more beautiful. So in theory, if I test this correctly.
Oh no!
Yeah,
No. Here, I can lift up the. I don't want you to hit it out because what if it falls? Here, no. Here. Hold on. No, no.
Trust me.
It's a lot of money. Okay.
Yes.
So we'll do.
That point right there is fine.
Yeah, but I'm gonna just lift it up right there, and then it's gonna lift. So you'll see the engine if the engine flexes. I shouldn't check that.
Okay, you ready?
Oh no! Oh my God, that was very.
I need the people to see. There is nothing underneath that motor.
No strings.
Wow. I mean, it's got to be. That's what it was scaring me off camera. I'm like, man, it's gonna have to be supported like this because there you have to bolt this to this, which we could, but like that has to be strong enough to do that.
It's so scary.
It's terrifying.
It's not right to a normal person. That's not.
No,
okay.
no. To anybody that isn't familiar with open wheel racing, which is like 99.99% of people in the world, that's not right. We need a tube chassis to go around it. Because then this bolts on. This literally just bolts on right now. Like, I'll save that for tomorrow. These are now in. It looks amazing. Last night was phenomenally a lot of fun. I went out to McFadden and I got bolts. Now, what bolts? I actually went through and depth gauged all of them, tried to figure out the depth of them, and then I had built this so basically 10 millimeters higher, 20 millimeters higher. So I came up with a list. One of the things I realized with this motor is that these are going to be designed by engineers. Sure enough, from this face inward is 20 millimeters. Now, those of you guys that know like basic engineering stuff know that you should generally have twice the depth of thread than the width of the bolt. That's just general common practice. These are 8 millimeters wide, so you want about 16 millimeters of thread. This is 30 millimeters, completely unnecessary, but it gives you that variability. So with that 15 to 16 millimeters in mind, I went and set out and put all these bolts in. These are all 12/9s. They are metric because the engine's metric, the chassis is not. So these are all M8s. These are 3/8 by 24. I think that I'm gonna have to end up replacing these. The engine side, the hole is much wider. Should go like that. This one also is a deeper one. Should go like that. The theme is that all of these should sit out about 16 millimeters, even though they're all at various depths of bolts. And sure enough, you can see this is very gratifying. I guess this deep one goes in here. Yeah. So look at that. Basically, even though this one's super short and this one's super long, you can see that they're all starting to touch the threads at essentially the exact same spot. So you can't even tell what bolts those are, which means that every single one of these is about 15 to 18 millimeters of thread. I think that that solves the problem. Once I tighten all those up a little bit, I'll remove that last one. This is all just my rough estimates of what these should be. Look at that. Not forcing them. And you see how tight, even without threading them in, you see how tight my holes are. So that just shows you how, thankfully, exact this is. They're all just sinking right in. The only thing I really wanted to do, and this is being very specific, but I'm gonna buy some more what's called a bullnose cutter. And so a bullnose cutter is the normal end mill cutting like this, but the very corner's been nipped off. and it's on purpose. So that way it creates a real small radius at the very bottom of the cut. And that's great for especially the stainless steel cuts, but it keeps the tool running longer and creates a small radius. So sadly right now I do not have that. So inside of these holes, at the very bottom of them, there is a very pointed edge, and I would like to replace that at some point. Let's see how far down this goes. I modeled this off the picture, and that's roughly what it looks like with the head of the bolt sticking inward just a slight bit. And these, of course, kind of sticking out a little bit. You can see, look at that, that bolt is that tight. It's not even meant to be that tight, but it is that tight, and it threads right in without a problem. That's incredible. I'm very, very happy with this. Thanks to Tang, I am able to do this, and I'm maturing as an adult. This is actually impact-worthy hex head, and it's a 3/8 torque wrench. And so what I'm gonna do currently, and guys, shoot me in any other direction, I'm open ears to this, but I'm gonna go with 30 foot-pounds of torque. Yeah, it's too much. Okay, so that's 20 foot-pounds. Yeah, 20 seems fine. I don't know what the spec is. This is crazy to think, but with that all done up, I don't see any reason why not putting that on. Same concept I think here is that it's basically studs.
Do we have hardware for this?
I do, yeah, let me show you guys. That came with the car, and these are meant for this area here. So I know those go like that. And they're like true shoulder bolts. Here's the other shoulder bolt looking thing. But then you can see this is the opposite. The center is actually thinner than the threads, when these actually need to be thicker again like that. And you'll see the thread is different. They're both 7/16, but they use both fine and coarse thread. The thread is very much meant for these bottom ones.
Does that need like a dowel or anything, or no?
Yeah, so that's the thing, is that we're gonna make these into the proper thing. So 2 of them are smaller, and the bottom 2, and 2 of them are longer. I think these need to be cut down a little bit. The way I measured them out, they will stick out too much. Officially off. This is just one of those moments that you gotta see. Oh, that was so cool. Okay. This is both a really good idea and bad idea.
Whatever the max on your jack is gonna be.
There. Yeah, you're right. It's pretty close to the maximum though.
Yeah.
Okay, let's it's like the first time in 20 years this thing's had a motor. One side kind of in. Oh, just need to bring it up just a little bit to get in the threads. Yeah. Oh, that should.
That's it?
No way.
Come on, man, it's too easy. So based off of Rob's theory now, I could lower this jack over here.
Do it, bitch. Do it. You talk about that life. I'm about that life. Okay, this is going. How you get it, LB?
I bet you won't.
I bet. It's in 1997. You can't use power tools.
It's not a power tool.
Oh, okay. Beat me.
I walk too.
All 4 top ones are done. This is the whole reason these are studs. There's no space for those. Using that jack stand as a fulcrum, obviously, but not so obviously, this half of the car weighs way more. As soon as we started to let this down just to try and get these 2 to interfere properly, the whole thing started picking up off the center. So really impressive.
What I think is crazy is this, because this is the trans.
Yeah, it's the first time you get to see this. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but yeah, this is the first time you get to see.
And I don't think you really are sorry.
I'm not. I'm just sorry for the camera.
But it just shows how like overly strong these heads are, because this is built into this, and the shock literally, the head is what's absorbing the shock force. If you look at this cradle part, because this part bolts on.
This whole piece unbolts as a shield, so the shock is going directly into the head and against these bolts here. I mean, it's ingenious to me. It's like, obviously it's been done for years, but the fact that the force is turned from this up and down, translated, and it's in and out, which is the straw. I mean, that's the most material you have on the car, is this way. So you don't have to have material bulking it to the sides. You literally are turning the shock force tension this way. That's incredible. I'm gonna clean these two up, and you can see I'm cutting about 3 threads off, which is roughly 1/4 of an inch. Looks like this. I bought these purposely to have enough thread to, get all the way into all the threads in the motor and in the transmission tunnel and have a bolt and all that sort of stuff, 1/4 inch off of all sides, but I think I can get away with just one side. You can kind of see where I'm going with this. The engine side needs 1 inch of thread. This is 1.1 inch of thread, and that leaves the outer side to be exposed maybe about 2 or 3 threads in, and that's where the nut would be. So I could cut these back as well, that 1/4 inch, but these aren't going to be the final ones because you see how thin this area is. It'll work for, putting around and all that, but I'd rather have custom bolts machined for it.
Rob did it wrong, so we're taking it all off.
We have to pull it back that far.
Okay.
Okay, that should be good. I'm glad I worked those threads over, so you see how nice they're going in. These are meant for CNC tables. I found the section of hold downs on a McMaster car. I'm like, hey, I could just trim some of the fat off of those. And that one's in. Well, let's help guide that. Okay, so it's about yay. And I could have cut that last 1/4 inch off, which would have taken about 3 more threads off, and that would have been about spec for what this was. On this car, that would have mattered, because that's like a couple more grams of weight.
I have a question for you guys.
Yeah.
A couple, is that 2? Or is that like 3 to you guys?
Couple.
Damn it. A couple could be 2.
Like a couple,
of people, but...
My girlfriend would like me to say 2.
Well, there you go. That is a chassis of a vehicle. That is a big moment. It's always those small moments that end up being the big moments. We're going to do this moment right, and we are going to put the wheels on and drop it to the ground. I think that's absolutely necessary. One of the really interesting things about this is that I noticed how this is really loose until you get it onto those alignment studs, and there's actually a reason for that. The brake hat is actually another alignment piece on this whole thing. I can't believe the carbon fiber, I can't believe the engine, I can't believe all that can support that, even just sitting anything this long. You got the jack moving. As it should. Yours might hit the ground.
Yeah, it's gonna bottom out the jack.
Oh.
It's down, but it's not.
That's kind of tough.
No, but it's gonna be, if I lift it up a little bit, it'll be enough to
Oh yeah, this should just...
because now you have help, right? Oh shit.
No, that's definitely enough to get the tire off the ground. Well, there you have it. This is an incredible moment for all of us, is that it's a car. It is the first time in probably 20 plus years that this thing has been all one piece with an actual motor that is capable of running together. It's the chassis, and building those engine mounts was very gratifying, but getting the correct bolts and all that just as well. This begins the next major phase, which is turning this into a running car. The reason we need it together is to make the measurements for all the wires, all that sort of stuff. We have to basically see the car together before we can kind of work backwards. So we'll be taking the car apart again. The illusion of oh, it's going together and about to run in a week isn't the case, but It's gonna be very soon. This is very, very soon. We're just gonna keep moving. And so it just comes apart, goes together, comes apart, but this is the first moment it looks like this. It's nuts to think, just like the title of the video says, that this little thing that weighs less than a pound is capable of causing this whole thing to fall in half. Thanks to Athletic Greens for sponsoring today's video.